So Reggie, you have one of the most detailed and horrific descriptions of hell I've ever heard. You were taken there. You saw things most people couldn't even imagine. So I don't even know where you want to start, Reggie, but start anywhere you feel is appropriate. How did you get there?
Oh man. Okay. Well, first and foremost, like I said, man, glory be to God. I want to thank you, Brother Vlad, for allowing me to do this. And so my testimony begins like this. So I was in the middle of one of the most downpour times in my life, bro, where I didn't know which way was up. I didn't know if I was coming or going half the time. At that point in time, I was so deep in my addiction to where I was smoking meth on the daily. I was smoking Sherm, which is PCP. I'm smoking Sherm I'm smoking anywhere from 3 to 4 to maybe 5 sticks a day. That is really enough to make the natural person really go insane, because smoking PCP is just not a safe drug at all. But no drugs are safe. But that wasn't a safe drug at all. But at that time, my mind was I was so broken. I was so distraught in my spirit that I felt like I was dead. I was literally dead inside. And I knew that I was, in a grand sense, because every day that I woke up, I would look in the mirror and I would just look at me and I would say, man, I hate you. I hate you. I hated myself. So I did any and everything possible to stay outside of this body, to be able to recognize me, because I hated me so much. I hated me. That's one thing about when we do drugs. A lot of people think that people do drugs because they like having fun and they like staying high. No, we do drugs because we hate that person that we're looking at. We hate that person. And I hated Reggie.
Wow.
I'm begging you, start trading tomorrow, especially if you're over 50. Doesn't matter if you've never traded before. By November 17th, you'll thank me.
How much do I need to start trading?
$20.
During that period, I was living in the garage of one of my family members. At that present time, during this time, I was sleeping in the garage, like I said. And we were working at the carnival that we had here in our hometown. And so, my day would start fairly early. I was waking up anywhere between 3 or 4 o'clock to get ready for work, because we'd have to be there by 5. So this particular night, I'm in the garage and I kind of dozed off a little bit. And when I dozed off, there was a heater that was placed in front of me, a really bright red heater. And I had this heater in front of me every night. But for some reason, this night, the heater felt different. The heat that came off of it felt different. It felt rather illuminated. And when I dozed off that very first time, I woke up and I remember jumping like, oh, but I was encased in fear. This fear that clothed me and clothed my whole body. I just didn't understand. And I really didn't want to go back to sleep, but I was so tired from the day that I knew that I had to. Wow. As I laid down, and I remember closing my eyes, brother. The next time that I opened my eyes, I looked and I saw me laying on the floor in the garage. The garage was the natural form as what the garage was in when I was standing there looking at myself. But I felt so weird, because I knew that this was out of body, and I'm looking around, but I knew that I was in the garage, but I'm watching myself on the floor, sleep. And I was kind of curled in the fetal position. I closed my eyes, and as I opened them, from the ground up, this encasing of this tomb started to form in the garage. The garage was disappearing. It was lifting up like this. And as it was lifting up, the garage was disappearing. And here comes this cave. And the cave continued to lift, and it got higher and higher and higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. And it kept on going. And before long, now I'm standing, I only feel about this big inside the cave because now the cave has consumed me.
Wow.
I'm still looking at myself on the floor, but the fear, okay, this fear that set in, and now this different atmosphere of heat that came over me in this cave, because now I'm watching myself on the floor, but I'm standing there. I see my hands, I see my feet, I see me, but I'm watching me on the floor. Now I'm getting scared. Because at this point, now I'm starting to have these thoughts go through my head as if that I think I died in my sleep and now I went to hell. Because this cave that came, the rocks they were breathing. The rocks that was in this cave, these rocks was different. This just wasn't no normal cave. The heat that started to permeate the air was starting to kind of feel like it was kind of melting my skin a little bit. At that point, I could feel my breath getting short because my lungs, they didn't feel correct. They didn't feel right. And I'm still watching myself on the floor. But now panic, anxiety, and this fear was starting to grip me to the point to where I was so scared that I couldn't express the fear to myself, because usually you try to make sense of your dreams sometimes when you go into a dream world and you be like, hey, am I here or am I not? Or where am I? But that fear started to consume me. And as that fear started to consume me, I began to scream. This scream that broke out, it felt like my jaw was about to snap and my teeth, they was breaking all by themselves because I was screaming so loud and so hard, but nobody could help me at that point. I wanted out. You know how you go into a dream and you want to get out that dream real bad? I wanted out, and I'm encased in this tomb, but now I said, I need out of here in my mind because I wasn't able to talk. As I close my eyes again, because I remember when I closed my eyes before. Now we're talking about the spiritual world, where the transference of being able to go from one section to another is a lot different. But I'm getting ready to close my eyes because I need out of here. When I close my eyes that second time, I wake up and I'm encased in a tomb, but this time I'm on the floor. When I opened up my eyes, I was on the floor. There was one hand that was like this, that was sticking up, but I was paralyzed. I could not move. I'm gonna make the face because that's really the only way I can really explain it. Now when I opened my eyes and I looked up, I could only move, like I say, like about right here. And as in front of me, I could see these black, sharp, kind of smooth, but I want to say these real crystallized rocks, but it was so dark, but I could only see kind of what's in front of me and what's around me. And there was a very, very long tunnel way. I could see down at the end, there was this very pinpoint of light. But as I'm like this in this rock and I'm looking up like this, there's people encased in this tomb. Wow. In this tomb, in these sharp rocks, we were in the rocks. We were the rocks. There were bodies all on the ceiling of the tomb. The tomb, it went forever. The bodies that was encased in this tomb was unreal. And it was somebody next to me that I could see, and I could kind of look over like this and see the next person next to me. This person, the teeth were broken. The lip was split all the way up into the eye. The eyeball was hanging out the socket. His nose was disfigured because it was leaning over here this way. And as I'm looking up, I'm trying to break up even more. Every time I lift it up, I could feel the rocks pull my skin off of my neck. Wow. And it says if I could feel the blood seeping, but it didn't feel like it because it was too unreal, because these rocks had literally been able to just peel, but I could hear the tendons and the bones break every time I try to lift up. And I'm looking around. And I couldn't scream because of being encased and being paralyzed in these rocks. But I knew that there was people, the sounds that came from the voices of these brothers and sisters, whether they may be, were all crying out, but there was no leaving. The thing about being encased in this rock formation in this cave went on forever. And I mean, it was forever. It was I knew in my mind, I knew in my spirit as I was paralyzed that it was no leaving this place. There was no getting out of this tomb that I was in. But what really got me was the fact that I was able to know what they all did in their sin. Whether it was fornication, whether it was suicide, whether it was a car wreck, or whether they had been killed by somebody. It was no communication between me and them, but everything that they had did was flooding through my spirit, and that wreaked even more fear on me. I knew that I was not leaving, but at that very moment that I was encased in that tomb, I knew that I had been separated from God forever. I could hear the curses that was coming from them about God that he hated. They were so angry. But this tomb was filled with so much fear. It was filled with so much hatred that it permeated everything that was going on inside of me, to where I didn't even want to move. But the more that I tried to move, the more that I broke. You could hear every bone, every tear that was being committed on my body. And I never heard that before. And that just mortified me. It felt almost as that I was throwing up at the same time, but I'm being suffocated at the same time. You like,
Never sue the other driver after a car accident. There's a better way to get paid a way bigger check without having to go to court or pay expensive.
this was the feeling of being choked out and suffocated and trying to throw up and trying to swallow all at once, but that was not going to happen. And the being paralyzed like that, where you just can't move and this arm is just sitting like this, but you see pieces of arms in front of you. You see heads that are sticking up out of the rocks right there in front of me. This was happening as I'm on the floor, and I keep trying to move, but as I keep trying to move, once again, my skin is tearing. I literally knew that I was in hell at this point. It was no other way to be able to manage or come up with a clearer understanding to know that at this point I have died. I've died in my sin. I've died in my sin, and I'm going to hell. I'm going to hell. I'm in hell. I knew that I was a sinner. I knew that I was so broken at this point. I knew that it was no getting out. I knew that there was no saving me. The grandest part about this whole thing, brother, is that I knew that I would never be able to communicate with God ever again. You feel the detachment from Christ. Christ is not there with you.
Wow, man.
God is not there with you. You'll never, ever be able to say, Father God, forgive me. If nobody gets anything out of this message, out of this testimony, understand that serving God, being with God, is the greatest feeling that you could ever have, even if you are a sinner and you are in your own worst deep darkness, because when you go to hell, you will never ever be able to have a communication with Christ, because it is the separation. It is a complete separation away from God. And everyone there feels that. That is the worst feeling forget about the torment, forget about the heat, forget about the pain, forget about the screams, forget about the yells, forget about all of that. You'll never feel the presence of God ever again. That is the worst part about being in hell. I don't know about nobody else, but I know I felt the absence of Christ. You can't scream enough. You can't cry enough. You can't curse enough, because you are without the presence of God. You are without the presence of God. As I'm encased in this tomb and I'm trying to break free because there's this thing that's inside me because I want out, but it hurts so bad because now I can feel my ligaments, I can feel my tendons, I can feel my whole fiber being ripped every time that I try to move. If I move my head to the left, if I move my head to the right. Now, the one part that was really being stripped off of me was this frontal part here because I was already lifting my head up like this and I wanted to scream, but I really couldn't because you can kind of feel the tendons from my neck kind of like just drooping a little bit because there's no skin. There was nothing there. And then from my chest area here, my arms a little bit because I'm trying to break free and I keep trying to raise up. But every time you raise up, you hear it. This is my flesh being peeled off my body. Glory be to God. This was the actual act of me trying to raise up out of this tomb. Now, even though that I was in this tomb, I want to say all in about a matter of, I was probably in there. It seemed like it was forever, but in actuality, it was probably only 10 minutes or so. And as I just hurled out a scream and a yell after I had taken in all of it, and I'm talking about black, when I talk about the bodies, when I talked about how many that were so saddened that they hadn't listened, the worst part is that when you were in hell, this part of the torment, because they were seen every time somebody told them about Jesus Christ. Every time somebody witnessed to them when they walked by and be like, you Jesus freak. Every time a family member told them, you need to get your right flight with Christ. They remembered that. They saw they were being tormented by that every single day. But there was this other thing that was able to torment them. This is what happened to you because you didn't listen. This is what happened to you because you didn't pay attention. You didn't even have to come here, but you did anyway because of your own selfish needs. This is part of the torment that you'll receive when you go to hell. So I came out of this. When I came out of this tomb, the light appeared, but as the light appeared, I was being woken up by my family member and I was shaking me about. I screamed, ah, ah. I was hysterical. I couldn't believe it. I curled up in the ball and I was like this. And I remember him saying, man, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you, man? You going crazy. What's wrong with you? I said, don't touch me. Don't touch me. I was so freaked out. I couldn't believe what I just went through. Now that night, or that morning when I woke up, I did not say a single word to him all the way till we got to work. It was probably about a 15, 20-minute ride on the way to work. And I remember we were smoking on the Sherm stick and drinking some coffee. And then he wanted to say something really bad to me, but he couldn't at that point. We get to work, and I mean, the only thing that I could think about is what had happened that night to me. I had never, ever experienced a night like that inside this body. I never experienced anything like that, brother. Nothing had never took place like that ever in my life. I had some nightmares. I had some bad things happen, but not like this.
What if you can create your own website by saying, this is what I want? With Wix, you can.
So I go through my day once again. My day was filled with, I drank all day. Matter of fact, I was drinking earlier that morning because I started drinking at about 4 o'clock. I had me a beer. Start my day off with a beer. If I had me some leftover vodka, then I would take me a couple shots and I drink. But I stayed inebriated all day long. Functioning. Now, mind you, I'm moving, I'm working, but I'm drinking every chance I get. I go to the store, get me a beer, then come back and smoke me a little bit, then hit a corner and I had to smoke me some meth. I smoked meth all day long. There was no stopping. And then whoever I could get a hold to or whoever I would run into, then I would go ahead and do me a couple lines or so. But definitely, and then by lunchtime came, I was back out smoking me another Sherm stick, me and my people, and we just got high all day while we were working. So the next night, it was a 4-night venture, 4 different separate times that I went to hell. I was petrified beyond belief to go to sleep that night, Vlad. I didn't want to go to bed. It was like I was living in this Freddy Krueger movie. I said, well, if I could stay up, then I won't go to sleep. Now, usually, if a person smokes as much meth as I did, you are going to be up for a good 3 to 4 days, maybe a week. Because I'm telling you, I smoked all day long. Every task that I did, if I had to go clean some bathrooms, I go in the bathroom, I have to break out my meth pipe, and there I go. Do-do-do-do-do. I'm just rolling and smoking. I mean, I'm blowing clouds so big, I mean, people from every area of the place, they could see it. But we were outside, so I didn't care. And I didn't care at that point anyway. I said, I got to stay awake. All I knew is I got to stay awake. I'm not praying. I'm not seeking God. The only thing that I had was encased around me was demons. But you know that God was still present with me even. This is why I say, this is why we have to seek God. Seek the kingdom of Christ. He's the only Savior. I sit here saved today only because of the grace that he had over my life. Night 2, our nights would finish around 10:30, 11 o'clock. We'd start at 5 in the morning and we finished. So I worked all day long. I make it back to the house, take a shower. I lay back down in the garage. I was very petrified. I said, I'm just going to turn all the lights off and I'm going to sit here and I'm going to smoke me a little bit of meth. And then hopefully I can stay up for the rest of the night. Wasn't working. I fell asleep, sitting up. As I woke up encased in this ball. And I'm gonna do my very best to explain this. I was in a ball, my arms were stretched out like this, and my legs were pulled apart. It wasn't like a crucifix type position, but I could feel myself in this ball because this ball was like, it was made of flesh. It smelled horrifically in this ball. I call it a flesh ball. It was the strangest thing, but let me take it back to this. When I was 8 years old, my mother took me and my brother to the fair one time. We got on this ride called the Galvatron. I don't know if anybody would recognize this ride. It might be a new name. It's the circular ride that you walk up into and they strap you to the wall and it spins around really, really fast. And there's a guy in the middle playing music and the speed of this thing, it sends you up and down because it's slamming you from top to bottom. I'm old school. I don't even know if they have this ride at any of these type places anymore. I got on that ride when I was 8 years old and I was petrified. I threw up. I got off of it. I told my mom, I said, don't ever let me ride this ever again. I'll never get on here. Okay. I will never get on this ride. This part of hell that I was in, I've never liked rides that go in a circular motion. I hate rides that go round and round and round. When I woke up, I was encased basically like in the Galvatron in this ride all over again. And the fear that came over me was that same exact fear that I felt from the night before. And there was no escaping. There was no escaping this fear because now I'm strapped in this ball of flesh. But I could see all of these straight. Oh, there was green, there was blue, there was yellow. There was this red that permeated, and they kept flashing. And there was this demonic music. Now, I used to listen to heavy metal. I used to be a heavy metal fan. But when I got saved, I understood that this ain't kind of music I listen to no more. So I stopped listening to that stuff because I know that how demonic this music really is. It was the most demonic heavy metal music that I could ever listen to, I could ever obtain through these ears. And I was beyond afraid. I was beyond fearful. I was beyond scared. There is not a word in the human dictionary to describe how scared I was, because I knew this night I overdosed, I died, I went to hell, and there was no getting out for Reggie Wallace. There was no leaving for me. Brother, this ball that I was encased in, it squeezed my body. My chest, my legs, my hips. It was like being in a human vice, and being wrapped up by a giant anaconda or python. My breaths that I was able to take were just.
Hey, business owner, tired of wasting hours on scheduling, attendance, and payroll? Connect Team's here to simplify all of that for you. With
That's all the breath that I could get. It was worth it. It was worse than trying to breathe through a straw. I remember trying to take a breath in, but I could feel that my bones were being broken. They were being constricted beyond belief. And this smell that it was making me throw up. But I had kind of the encasing that I was in. It also covered my head also, but I could see just barely a little bit, but it was fuzzy. It was hazy. The colors that existed in this realm that I was in, it was as if the colors were alive. Wow. I don't know if I can quite give you an understanding on what these colors did to me, because the colors that were in there feared me. I was scared of them, because it seems as if the colors were breathing as if they were coming to get me in such a way. I don't know if that makes sense, but hell is a different dimension. It's another place that only, like you said, it was reserved for demons. Hell was not meant for us. Hell was not made for us. It definitely wasn't made for me. As these colors would flash in and out, I was afraid every time I would see one, a blue, a red, a green, because this was a time where this wasn't no pretty dream. This wasn't something that I was inclined to try to stay in. I was ready to leave. After being there a few minutes, I could feel a demon that walked in. He was gigantic. I don't even know how he fit in this thing. But I was in the Galvatron, but I was still encased in this ball that I was strapped in, and there was no getting out. I could hear him under a slight laugh as he walked in. I could hear his footsteps as they touched the floor. I could hear the flesh that was dragging off of him, because he was so grotesque. But you could hear everything. I couldn't so much see it, but I could hear it, and I could feel it. The thing about when you go to hell, you can feel everything. When the walls breathe, when the colors breathe, it's like the colors, they come to kind of tug at your flesh, almost kind of tearing at it almost. That's why those colors feared me so much, because the colors, every time one would flash, I could kind of feel a rip phase my eyes, but I couldn't even scream because I could barely breathe. So there was no yelling coming from me. Yeah, I'm concentrating on trying to breathe. When he gets inside, he has this, I want to say this kind of underlying monotone kind of laugh, but it was so deep and it was so grotesque and it was so ugly that would give anybody a fear. And he stood there and he kind of just looked at me for a second and he pulled on this lever. When he pulled on this lever, I started to rotate. The room was spinning this way, but I was rotating every which way. As I rotated, my arms, my fingers, my shoulders, my chest, everything was breaking. I would roll over on my neck snapped. My ears were being pulled away from my head. When my face hit the floor, my eyeball would press against the floor. My eyeball would shoot out. My eyes was hanging. My nose was all the way over here. My lips pulled apart. All my teeth were breaking. I'm being rolled over constantly. And the only thing that I could do is understand that I was in complete agony and complete pain. As the music's playing, he's laughing, colors are flashing. I'm in fear. I'm in absolute, complete, tormented pain because I'm now encased in this ball of flesh. I'm throwing up. The throw up is shooting out everywhere. A projectile throw up. But my mouth is so broken that the throw up is just going everywhere inside of this flesh, in this flesh ball that I'm in. So the throw up is landing everywhere. And I could taste and feel the acid that was dripping down on my skin. And my skin was melting because of the acid from the throw up.
Oh, God.
I would stop spinning. He'd give me a chance to be able. Now, I was able to keep one eye. I don't know why I was able to keep one eye, because I was disfigured. And as you could see, the vomit and the smell, and it's smoky.
Imagine being able to build anything just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI.
I started to think about, see, so this is where it gets real. Because, see, when you're in sin, you don't think about what happens if you leave here and you do go to hell. But when you're there, everything that you did, you're going to remember. You're going to think about all the times you cuss somebody out. Every time you disrespected somebody. Every time you fornicated. Every time you got high. Every time you got drunk. And you could have been offering your life to God, but you're sitting there and now the regret sets in because you're in remembrance of all the error, the fouls and the errors that you ran when you was here on earth, and you had a chance to make it right and you didn't. It's people right now sitting somewhere getting high. It's somebody right now sitting somewhere fornicating. It's somebody right now listening to some demonic music. It's somebody somewhere right now not reading a word. It's somebody somewhere right now not praying to God. It's somebody somewhere right now not tripping off of the sin that they're doing. It's somebody somewhere right now getting ready to go shoot another person to kill somebody, but they're not thinking about what's going to happen when they make it to hell. That's what I thought about.
Jesus.
Every time that I disregarded God. Every time that I just said, I don't want to do this because that's boring to me. I don't want to serve him. That's boring to me. But it was too late. And it's too late when you get to hell. It's too late. The judgment has been set. The gavel has been slapped down. Depart from me, you workers of iniquity. I never knew you. If you thought that there was anything in this world that you don't ever want to hear, but those words you never want to hear, and I promise you will hear them if you do not get saved and serve Jesus Christ. So after that, and so all this happened as it stopped. And then he cranked up the ride again. Same. Now, so what happens in hell is that You would think that after being mutilated and torn apart like this, that it's really no more you can do. I'm mutilated already. What else? Guess what? You come back to your natural form again. Eyes go back in their sockets. Hell is based off repetition. It's repetition in hell. So when your eyeball comes out the socket, your mouth gets broken, your teeth are broken, your face is smashed, your nose is ripped off, your ear is peeled off, the skin from your head, your brain is hanging out. It goes all back together again. Here we go. One more time. And he did it again. Same thing. Arms, legs, feet, toes. Every part of my body was being broken and smashed. You could hear every bone snap. You can hear every ligament break. You can hear every piece of skin being ripped off. You can hear every tooth break. You can feel every pop of the eyeball socket. You can feel your brain leaking out again. You can feel your skin falling off and being torn off again because it's being smashed and rotated upon this thing that you have no understanding of. And this ride, and that's only the body, because you still got all this other stuff going on around you that is encasing you with the fear, because you know that you never leave and this is never gonna end. This is never going to end. What God was able to show me through going through hell was that yet thus is still, see, it's levels. It's different places in hell, see, that you'll go to. You'll be there for a minute. I thought that when you went to hell, you just went into a lake of fire and it was just, oh, I'm burning, I'm burning, I'm burning, I'm burning. No, sir. No, sir. You're going to witness the full effect and understand that there's payment. See, the wages of death, the wages of sin is death. It's the death. The wages, the payment that you have to pay for when you sin upon this earth, and when you do not accept Lord Jesus Christ as your Savior and you want to follow him, you are going to have to pay for that. We pay for these things. This is the payment. So this is the part of my hell. Hell, the things that you loved on this earth, you will definitely reap them when you go to hell. And that's going to be the place that you're going to find the most sickening, most grotesque feeling that you'll ever feel when you thought that you was doing the greatest thing that made your flesh feel so good. You will hate that, what you done. Once again, now I'm in the flesh ball. I'm throwing up, the acid's running everywhere. The puke is running everywhere. It's just spewing out. I'm split from end to end. Every bone is broken. I'm spinning round and round and round. And all I could think in my spirit, in my mind, please stop, please stop, please stop. And he's laughing. He's laughing. He masturbates to my pain. The demons find great pleasure in the pain that they're torment demons. And Satan has a whole slew of them waiting for someone. The slew of torment demons are never ending in hell. Everybody that's there will be able to be assigned their own personal torment demon. This is how many demons that there are. And they keep growing. It never stops. Once again, I can't even tell you how long that I was in this flesh ball, but I wanted to get out of here. Once again, my family wakes me up that morning, and it seemed as if it was around the same time every day. God will let me experience enough in that realm to where I would be able to be woke up. I didn't have to remain there. Same thing. He came. This time, when he woke me up, he came and tapped on me, and then he jumped back because he said he did tell me later on that day before I went to bed that night for the second round. He said, man, I was scared to wake you up, bro. He said, when I went and tapped you, he said, I jumped back. He said, bro, because you woke up and you were swinging like somebody was trying to hurt you. He said, and you scared me. He said, your eyes was pitch red, bro. He said, I was scared to wake you up, man. He said, so I went and I came. He said, I was standing at the door for a minute. I was just calling you because I didn't want to come over there and tap you and wake you up. He said, but you was in such a deep sleep, man. He said, what was going on with you? And I said, man, I don't feel like talking about this. I don't want to talk about this. So when I finally came out, but I came out in a panic. Leave me alone. Don't stop. I'm in a frenzy. I was spooked beyond belief. But this morning I just sat there and I cried and I cried and I cried, bro. I just cried. I cried. See, because at this point, now I'm not understanding how I'm going to make it out. I didn't know which way to make it out. I actually could still smell the throw up. When I woke up, it was in my mouth. When I woke up that particular day when I woke up with that smell and that taste in my mouth. Because that smell, it was like left on me. It's like I could smell it in my skin. Now, regardless of maybe because it was the drugs that was coming out of me, I was trying to take showers every chance that I got because I could still smell the smell of being in hell. I could taste it in my mouth. Now, mind you, at that time, I was having some teeth problems at that time, too, from doing meth. So I had a couple rotten teeth, but it was beyond that because now it was starting. And that's why I always constantly wanted to keep drinking beer or keep smoking weed. I just had to keep smoking something because I didn't want that taste in my mouth. I didn't want to taste it. I didn't want to. And I was too afraid to talk about it. I couldn't tell nobody what was going on with me at this time. That was night two. Night two of going through this torment, this hell. And I knew that I could not tell nobody. At this time, I had people in my family. They said, I was the talk of the town. They was like, Reg is going crazy. Reg done lost his mind. Reg is seeing demons. Reg is losing it. He's smoking too much sherm. Nobody wanted me to come around. Nobody. So I was very alienated. And at this time, my family member, he was the only one that really wanted to hang with me. He was the only one that really kicked it with me because he was going through a really treacherous time in his life also. But he didn't really care because he could kind of feel and understand what I was going through. But he really didn't know because he was dealing with his own torment. But he didn't. And at that time, he was going through some hell also within himself, but he didn't want to share that with me also. So this day, I wake up, same thing. Beer, weed, sherm, on the way to work. Coffee, smoking, I'm high all day long. So I said this day, so by this time I had to re-up, so I got me some more meth, got me another bag. Meth is really cheap. So, it was like no end. And it was like, it seemed as if that during that point, that period, bro, like I was getting the biggest bags of meth. It was like the devil wanted me to overdose. The devil wanted me. He was leading every foul drug that it could possibly be to my hands. And I was getting it. Cats was coming up to me with just unspeakable amount of dope, bro. I had never seen that much dope in my life. And I had been around drugs for a long time. But during this period, this was 2019, bro. And I tell you what, my brother, I had never been surrounded by so much dope in my life. I knew I was going to overdose because every corner I would turn, there was the coke, there was the meth, there was the sherm, and it was just an unlimited supply. As we went to work that day, after this second night, we ended up going to a store during, and I didn't speak about this in my other testimony, but we went to a store. When we walked into this store, I started to see the demons in people. Now this really weirded me out because now not only am I transferring into the realm of hell at night, now I'm walking around in the daytime. As I'm passing people in the store, their demons are coming out of the side of their faces.
Wow.
When I turn around and go look, their demons are protruding through their backs.
Monday.com, the opposite of any work platform we tried in the past. We tried other work management platforms, not naming names. They all suck.
I'm literally seeing these disfigured demons that are starting to appear in people. And God was showing me that these are the demons that are residing in the people that walk around every day. They appear to seem normal, but this is what's in them. I was losing my absolute mind, man. I was losing my mind, brother. I was losing my mind, man. I could not. because the paranoia that was starting to be over me was unreal. Like I shouldn't be seeing this during the day. Even though I know that I'm high, I get it. But what even came now, you're showing me the demons in people. I don't want to see people's demons. Do you know everybody that I talked to that day, their demon appeared to me? I was talking to my boss that day. And these demons started to just pop out everywhere, all over him. And he knew he's talking. He said, Reg, what's wrong with you? I'm standing there like this. They were everywhere. They were everywhere. Now, mind you, this man is a very known man in our community. He has businesses, a wife, grown children, a stand-up band in the community, but encased with demons. I'm freaked out beyond my wits. I at that point, as I'm talking to him, he was telling me about how he was getting ready to hand out checks that day. And I couldn't even partake in this conversation because these demons that were leaping from his skin were absolutely driving me nuts. I said, boss, I need a minute. And he said, all right. He said, all right. Go and take you a minute. I went to the car to where we were parked at that day, bro. And I fell down next to the truck, and I just started crying, man. Just tears just started rolling down my eyes. I'm thinking about. And then this day I had to tell God that I was sorry. I repented. Now I did repent that day. Even though that I knew probably that I was getting ready to go back, I was getting ready to do the same thing. And I was pretty high at this point, but by the time I made it to the truck, I wasn't high no more. Because I'm now, I don't want to look at nobody in their face. I don't want to talk to nobody. I don't want to see anybody. I need a timeout. I need to be by myself. I need to sit somewhere, man, and try to figure something out because I'm completely tossed in my mind. I'm sitting there. I could hear the sounds that were coming from the hell from the night before because it was constantly replaying in my spirit. So I could hear the cries. I could hear the screams. See, because it's these distant screams because I was already placed where I was placed at, but you still hear the noise because hell is far beyond quiet at any point. There is nothing quiet about hell at all. But as I'm sitting by the truck, I'm in tears, man. And I didn't even really want to return back to work. But I knew that I had to.
Wow.
So I go back. I'm back at work. I made it back after like about 45 minutes to an hour. As soon as I got up, I stood up and I went to the store and got me a beer. And then I fired up me a blunt because I had to smoke. And then I fired up me a bowl of meth. And I'm just sitting outside in public, broad daylight. I'm not caring about nothing or nobody at this point. It's a done deal. I'm sitting next to the truck and we was parked on the street and I'm just sitting there on the kind of the truck was sitting there on the curb. So I was on the curb with my back against the truck and I'm just in shambles. People was walking by, but nobody's tripping because this is the kind of place that we live in. I don't know how it is in your city, but man, it's streets that you can ride down. And I mean, bro, they sitting out there, they smoking meth, they smoking weed. It's nothing to the police no more. It's like we are living in the last days. This is Sodom and Gomorrah of where I live, bro. This is how they get down out here. You can go by the bus stop. The police will not do anything to you. You can do whatever you want to out here, man, on these streets. As long as you're not trying to hurt somebody, they don't care if you're sitting there, man. Some cats will put a jacket over their head. If you roll past somebody out here and you see them with a jacket or a shirt over their head, most people think they're crazy, but you'll see smoke rolling from up underneath. And so they sitting up there, they smoking meth, man, and nobody does anything. So I go back to work, man. Thank God that these visions of these demons and people stopped because I was scared to look at anybody. I walked around for about an hour and a half sweeping up, and I just was looking at the ground because I didn't want to look up and look at nobody because I was scared. And then when I finally ended up, because somebody bumped into me, they had to come talk to me, and I raised up real slow, and then I didn't see any demons in them, and I was like, thank you, Lord. That night, I finished up, same thing, 10:30. I was pretty wasted. By the time I got off on this third night, man. And we stayed up for a little bit. So before we make it back to the house, my people decided to go get with another one of our partners. And he said that they were at this motorcycle convention that they have out here. And he was like, hey, man, y'all come meet me over here before y'all go to the house. He was like, come kick it, let's smoke. So we decided to go over there. We're already wasted, man. It's tired. We've been up since 5 o'clock that morning, 4 that morning. I was ready to go, but oh well, I'm not driving. So here we go. So we pull next to my guy. He's sitting in the parking lot. We pull next to him. He takes the Sherm stick, which is a cigarette, and then you got to drop it down inside the PCP water. He dropped it in there and he left it in there. And the way that he looked and turned and looked at me, he had this look on his face, and it was straight demonic how he did it. He was still in normal form, but the way that he looked at me as he held the Sherm stick in this, you're not supposed to do that. All you're supposed to do is take it and drop the tip of it and then turn it upside down and then let it run down. It is the most satanic. It is. I think it's a satanic ritual beyond belief. He dropped the whole thing in there and left it in there. And I was like, oh my God, Lord, I can't smoke that. If I smoke that, I'm going to be so high. That's going to probably take me out of my mind. PCP, AKA Sherm, wet, gorilla piss, whatever you want to call it. It's a whole bunch of angel dust. It's a whole bunch of names for PCP water.
Golly, man.
There have been people that have literally smoked it for the very first time, and their mind has completely left them, and they have not come back, and they have completely been absolutely crazy, schizophrenic, out of their absolute gourds for the rest of their eternal life, for the rest of their lives. Because this is how powerful. It's embalming. I don't know if you know what it is, but it's embalming fluid. This is what they use to inject into dead people. But they turned it into something that people smoke. It takes you completely out of this whole dimension. You literally walk into another dimension when you smoke Sherm. And we were smoking about 5 sticks a day, easy. He dropped that stick in there, man. When he pulled it out, I mean, it was literally almost glowing when he pulled it out. It never done that to me. That's why I knew that I was on a whole different plane as I'm journeying through this part of my life. We smoked it. And I mean, we was hitting it hard. For some reason, there was a spirit that kind of came over me, was like, and I knew it was the devil, because the enemy was like, man, look, let's go on and get high tonight. You ain't got to worry about going to sleep. And that's all I kept hearing. Man, you ain't got to worry about going to sleep tonight. Now I'm trying not to get freaked out and get scared, because I knew what's been going on with me already. I was already under a state of constant fear. The fear that surrounded me. Every time we went somewhere, I thought that I was seeing somebody that was coming to get me. I was out of my mind. I was out of my mind. I could not understand why this was happening to me, besides the fact that I had lost it. I could not tell if I was in the land of the living or if I really was dead. I was starting to question myself. I was starting to question what was going on with me at that period. That's how lost and how broken I was going through this. When we leave, I'm so high that I literally didn't really know where I was at. When we pulled out of the parking lot, we had to get on the freeway, but the freeway, we had to make a U-turn to get on the freeway. I did know that, but we did not. Instead of making the U-turn, he turned right. As he turned right, we went down this one particular highway, avenue. It's a road. As we're going down this road, it got so dark. The darkness reminded me of hell. because hell has a certain darkness that wraps around your whole body, and the darkness in hell is really it's alive. Remember I told you, like, the colors in hell that grab you because everything in hell is alive. This darkness, when they say this darkness consumes you beyond belief, it wraps a fear around your heart so viciously you will beg for an inch, for a speckle of light to appear, because this darkness runs you. It ruins you.
Wow.
It ruins you. Well, that darkness appeared, but I did see a glow of the lights from the headlights on the car that we were in, the truck that we were in. We're going down this highway, and as we're going down this highway, I'm starting to become paranoid, because I really thought that I had died, and I was living this hell movie, because this is what it seemed as if it was a movie. I'd go to sleep, I'd get tormented, I'd wake back up, I'd go back to work again. I seen that this was the repetition. Do you see what I'm saying? So it was just over and over and over, and I would never leave this part. I would continue to go to work and go back to torment, wake up again. So this is why I'm going crazy, because I can't tell if I'm alive or if I'm dead. I don't know. As we're going down this highway, the next couple of seconds, my folks looked over. I heard him. He grabbed the wheel. And when he grabbed it, he said, "I'm scared. I'm scared. It's dark out here. Where's the darkness coming from? I'm scared. I'm scared, bro. I'm scared." He starts swerving. Now, that's other cars on the highway. The only thing that I could think of was to grab the wheel and tell him to pull over. I said, "Pull over, bro. Just pull over." I'm talking real calm to him, because now I'm trying to calm him down. But I'm fearful beyond my life, bro. I'm so scared, man. I'm scared, brother. I'm scared. And he is freaking out beyond belief. He is going through an absolute panic attack. He said the darkness was coming for him. The darkness is grabbing him. The darkness is coming. The darkness is grabbing him. He was beyond belief of the fear that he was in, because this darkness was starting. Now, not only is it wrapping around, so we're seeing the same thing at the same time.
Jesus.
I managed to pull the car over to the right. He got out. He's shaking beyond belief, shaking like a leaf. He got out, and I got him into the passenger seat, and I was able to manage to get the car back on the road safely, and we was able to turn around. And in my mind, I'm praying. I said, "Lord, please just get us back. Just get us back, Lord. Please just get us back." Well, I was able to manage to get us back to the freeway, and then we head and we make it back to this house. Oh, thank you, Lord. We make it back. I ain't take a shower that night. I smell like trash, and who done it and who did it and why. But I didn't care, because I was exhausted out of my mind. That's another thing about hell, because therefore there's no sleep. There's no rest. There's no rest. Absolutely no rest. It's the type of it's a type of tired that you won't experience on this earth. All I can say is you can imagine trying to stay up for 4 days with no food and nothing to drink. That's about as close as I can tell you of what would happen if you stayed up for a number of days with no food and nothing in your body. Times that by 1,000. And that's the kind of tired that you can kind of equate to what you'll similarly see in hell. This night, brother, I'm tired beyond belief. And I didn't want to go to sleep. So the body is only able to process drugs for only a certain amount of period. After you have intake so much drugs, the body will start to reject it, because you'll be so tired that it's not even able to the body isn't able to respond to the drugs that you're taking. So therefore, the serotonin in your brain, everything just kind of just goes to this bleak level, and you're just not even able to get high no more. You can only smoke so much weed. That's why once I got sober, I was able to figure out, like, I wasted all that money and all that time smoking weed. When the body starts to reject getting high, you can only get so high on any drug, acid, meth, coke, any of it. And the body will reject it after a while. You have to stop, go to sleep, eat, let the body rejuvenate and reset itself, and then go and start to get high again. Now, you'll never achieve that first high that you did, but you can get high again. Third night, I lay down, go to sleep. I fell asleep, man. Now, I did smoke meth before I went to bed, but it didn't even matter. I fell asleep with the pipe in my hand. I fell asleep, pipe in my hand, lighter in my other hand, and I go to sleep and I wake up. This time, I'm encased in a metal ball. This ball was set on a pendulum. The pendulums were concaved. It was outside. It was a whole bunch of these stages that was set. It was like it was up on a stage, and the ball and these balls that you're encased in, it was 6 of them, 5 or 6, but I believe it was 6 of them. As you're encased in this metal ball, and the ball set in this concave type deal, in the middle of this pendulum, this is the best way I could describe it. You could see the demonic star that was set in the middle of this pendulum. Star of the Baphomet was right there in the middle. The 6 balls that was on top of this pendulum, there were brothers and sisters in these balls. Everybody was encased, arms out and feet were out. Those are the only thing. Everything else, every other part of your body was encased inside of the ball. Once again, these stages were set all throughout this dimension of hell. See, hell is its own world. Hell is its own world. It's just not the lake of fire. It's just not, it's so many different places, just like it's all kind of states and cities here on the earth. That's hell. But every place is torment in hell. In this world, it's its own world. As I'm encased in this thing, it starts out with me looking around, and as far as I can see was as far as that these pendulum ball tables were set up. There was me and other brothers and sisters. I couldn't even tell if they were male or female. There was a demon that was assigned to each pendulum table. Once again, you could hear screams that would pierce your ears, that would hurt so bad that it was literally busting your eardrums because of the constant weeping and the gnashing that was taking place.
Wow.
The demon that ran this ride, he was having an absolute blast at the torment that he was about to inflict on us. And you couldn't hear him say, ready, set, go. But as he pulled back this lever, the ball spun. As the ball spun, it would break every single fragment of your body. Now, the ball was encased in this concave thing, but it was like it had a break to it. It was like the cement part was here, and the concave piece that was down there, it was like this, and then the ball set down in here. So every time that your ball spun, it would catch the corner of the cement, and it'd break something, it'd tear something. So the ball, it would spin every way, forward, backwards, sideways, reverse, and it was ripping the faces. It was crushing. It was all cement. It was like a cement and metal mixed together. It would rip, tear, break, cut, everything. teeth were breaking. And when the ball would run underneath the concave part, it would smash your face. So therefore your nose would be back here. Your head would be split open. Your brain was hanging out. Your eyes was hanging out. And it keeps spinning, and all you could hear was the cries, and all you could hear was the pain that everybody was in. Everybody was in. That this thing was never gonna stop. Once again, the smell was absolutely horrific, permeating every orifice of your body that you could smell. It made you want to throw up, but you couldn't, because once again, it's so hard to breathe. You can't breathe. You can't breathe in hell. It's like you're breathing, but you're really not. You're being suffocated, but everything's being broken. The ball had this same effect from the night before, that the flesh ball that I was in. So every time that it spun, it would crush your chest. It would break your arms. Everything in the middle of the human anatomy was being broken. The thighs, the hips, you would feel your hips being broken. Your knees were being broken. Now, the hands and the ankles are the only things sticking out, but it would catch every corner of the cement metal platform. So it was ripping your toes. It was breaking the fingers, ripping the skin off your fingers. You were left with nothing. And then it would stop. Everything would come back together, and it'd start again. Now, this lasted throughout, it seemed like all night. And once again, I was able to feel and hear the pain. And I was able to witness inside of my spirit. I could feel it telepathically, really, of the things that all of these brothers had done, and all of these sisters had done, and had given themselves away when they just were disobedient, disobeyed Christ. Just absolutely horrible to see the sins of what people did. I think that was worse than I was thinking, to be able to witness my own sin, but to be able to witness the sin of others, of what they did, was torment for me. And that being added with the physical torment that our bodies had to go through, everything I had to intake while this was happening was absolutely horrific. The smell in the darkness, I would actually be able to say that none of it was pleasurable beyond belief. I knew that at this point of what I was going through, that there was really no way that I was going to be able to escape hell. I knew that I was condemned to hell no matter what I did. I had already been placed judgment on top of me. This is what I'm thinking in my mind. This lasted, man, seemed like this lasted for an eternity. Felt like I was there for years. Being able to see the sky so black with nothing there. Listening to the screams, listening to the torment was driving me insane. Once again, I wake up in a panic, screaming for dear life. For some reason, this one impacted me a little bit more than the other trips that I had taken that night, because I felt like I was to my limit. And when I woke up that day, and the same thing, this time, my family member, he didn't come tap me. He lifted up to the garage to wake me up. The garage sounded like bones being broken, and I came out of that sleep screaming. I actually jumped up, and I was knocking stuff over, and I was grabbing stuff, and I was swinging for dear life, bro, because I was out of my mind, scared. And he stayed right at the door. And the look that was on his face.
Bro, you're done already?
Yeah, bro.
How?
I hired Motion to hire AI employees.
AI employees?
Yeah, dude, I have a...
He couldn't understand, and he couldn't believe how petrified and how scared that I was when I woke up out of that one. Because it had casted something else on me that night. And that's how scared I was, man. Same thing Now, I really wasn't too apt to get high this morning, but I knew that I had to anyway because I wanted to escape this pain that I was dealing with. It was entirely too much for me. Same thing happens again. I go to work. I come back. I go to work. Same thing. We're getting high that day all day long. I said, I'm going for the gusto and I'm just going to stay real messed up all day long, nonstop. I don't care. So every single second of the day, I had something in my mouth. I didn't care what it was. I had a pocket full of drugs. Everything you can name, I had on me. I was a mess, man. I was an absolute mess. I was so broken. I was in shambles and I didn't care. I did not care at this point. I didn't, like I said, I didn't know whether I was alive or whether I was dead. Because now I'm starting to get these glimpses as I'm walking throughout the day. I could feel the demonic presence of evil just all around me at every point, every turn. I was even standing amongst some animals, and I was starting to feel demonic presence just coming from the animals where I was at. Cows and pigs. The pigs' eyes were turning different colors. It was horrible. Because I said, you know what? I keep being around people because while you're at the carnival, they got a section where they got animals at. I said, I'm going to go hang with the animals. During my breaks and my lunches, I go get high in the corner. Then I come back and then I just go roam around with the cows and the horses and the pigs and whatnot. I said, I can't even do it. I can't even be around people right now. But I was starting to feel that there were demons starting to protrude from the animals. I said, this is only stuff that you hear about in a movie. This is not real. I'm talking to myself because I can't share this with nobody. I'm too freaked out to share this with anybody. And I said, I never talk to anybody about this, ever. So, night number 4. The 4th night comes. I make it to the spot, take a shower, I lay down. Mind you, the whole time this was happening, I was scared to eat. Every time I ate, I would throw up. And so this night I tried to eat again. Once again, I threw up. I said, well, can't eat nothing. Might as well get high. Smoked me some meth before I go to sleep. Took a couple lines of coke, 2 big lines of coke. I'm like, you know what? I know I'll be able to stay up. I actually stayed up for a while. I stayed up till maybe about 1 o'clock because I know I had to be up at 4. I finally fell asleep. When I fell asleep this time, I wake up and I'm walking. There's this long street, this long road. But there's these abandoned and broken buildings. It looked like my city. It looked like downtown of where I live in downtown Fresno. It looked like downtown, but it was too messed up. But I was still fearful beyond my mind. But the difference in this night was that the darkness was there. This is what was so trippy because it was the darkness of hell. It was that overtaken of that fearful darkness, but it only lasted up to me to a certain point. Like it came up to about right here and it stopped. I was encased in a different realm on this night, which really weirded me out. I got clothes on, I got a backpack, and I'm walking. I'm walking. As I'm walking, people are starting to appear. I see priests. I see nuns. I see Muslims. I see men of the cloth in the Vatican. I see all kinds of people from every race, I see them all. The voices, as they're walking down the street, I couldn't talk to them, but I could hear the voices. And there were different voices. Some were saying, I don't know why I'm here. Somebody help me. Why am I here? How did I get here? I don't know why I'm here. Please, can you tell me why I'm here? I don't know why I'm here. Can I leave here? I want to leave. I want to leave right now. Please help me. Help me. Please, somebody help me. I want to get out of here. I can't leave. Please help me. And then I hear other voices. I know I was supposed to serve God. It was the only one true living God. I did not understand this part of this hell that I was in. It was like this lost city of all of these different cultures and nationalities, people that were Buddhist, people that were into Judaism, people that were Muslim, people that were Catholics, people that did, and he came to me. These are all the ones that did not serve me. This atmosphere was absolutely horrific because all of these people thought that they were going into heaven. All of these people thought that they were going to make it into the kingdom. And I kept hearing in my spirit that this is what happens when they don't serve me, the one and only living God. This is what happens. I kept walking. As I'm walking through this place, there was this young lady that I knew personally. She tried to talk to me. She came out of the shadows. There were these shadows that was so deep because it was so dark, but I still could see the silhouette of this place that looked like this town that I'm from, but I know that this is not the town. There was a peering light that was way at the end of this place that I was headed to, but I knew that I was headed to this light. There was something that was pushing me and guiding me inside to let me know that I was able to make it to that light. The rest of these people, they were appearing only in the shadows. That part of the darkness that stopped right here, that's where they resided at. They couldn't make it to this light. What happened is this young lady, she starts to scream. She said, "It's me. It's me. Don't you remember me?" And I couldn't say anything. And I kept going. And I kept going. She appeared once again out of the shadows. And then, boom, she was pulled back. It was like she was vacuumed back into the shadows. And the screams and the horrific scream that came from that scream that she had was absolutely terrifying. There was another that appeared out of the shadows. He wasn't able to say anything to me. This happened to me, my father, that appeared in hell. The look of sadness that was over him. I was able to see the regret. I was able to see the pain that dwelled within him. And it consumed him to a point to where he would forever be lost and be bewildered in this part of hell. And he'd never be able to leave. And he was sucked. And I continued to journey. And as I kept walking, all I could do was walk. Nobody could touch me. Nobody could grab me. But this darkness, this amount of pain and hurt that gripped these brothers and sisters that were there was all in conjunction to not serving God. And they all had a chance. They all had an opportunity, but nobody wanted to turn. And I remember walking into that light. And that's where I came out. And I woke up. And that night that I woke up, that early morning that I woke up differently. I didn't wake up in a panic. I woke up all by myself. But I was still fearful. I was still scared. I was still lost. I was still broken. But I didn't wake up in a terrifying panic like I had woke up. And that was the only thing that really took me to a different level in this one, because I couldn't understand why I woke up like I did on this one. And when I woke up, I began my day as any other day. It was the same thing. But I was thankful that I did not wake up like I did the rest of those nights, because everything else was nothing but torment and pain and hurt. But all this was sitting on top of my head as I woke up, because I'm still like, am I alive or am I dead? I really didn't know. I did that. I stayed in that realm for a very, very long time. I stayed in that realm for another couple, 2 or 3 months. I stayed in that realm. I did not know if I was alive or if I was dead. But I didn't have any more. I didn't have after that. I did not have any more hell experiences or go back to hell in that capacity. That was the only time. That was in 2019. And now we sit here in 2025. I got saved in that next year. The next year I got saved. The next year I got saved. Upon getting saved, you know, the only thing that did happen is I had a day trip where we just had finished working at the carnival. The carnival was all over. We got paid. Upon getting paid, me and my peoples was like, man, we're going to come together. We're going to go half on a couple pounds of weed, and let's make a little bit of more extra money and hustle, and we'll do it moving. Well, we did that. This day we're there. We're breaking it all down, and we're sitting in the garage. Now, leading up to that, I stopped smoking Sherm, because I couldn't do it no more. I knew that Sherm was escaping me to a whole nother dimension. It was leading me to a whole nother place. I was still smoking meth like 99 going north, but that was my thing. Smoking meth. I'm still snorting powder. And during this period, I was like, okay, I think something is changing. I want to get my life right. Well, this one day, we're in the garage. We're breaking down the weed. We got weed everywhere. We smoking blunts. We drinking. We chilling. As I'm sitting at this table, the salt shakers like disappeared. They dwindled, and then fire shot up out of the table. The garage turned into this carnival from hell. There was a Ferris wheel that was behind me, and there was this demonic music. The demonic music came back into play again. He disappears. He was there. He was in there with me. And as I kind of turned and looked at my peripherals, there were 2 entertainers that came out. One of them spoke to me. Another, where there was a door in the garage, the door, it turned into this mouth of hell, where this tongue came out and landed in the garage, and the mouth dropped open, and there was this smoke and that smell of the putrid of the dead decaying bodies came out of there. And the one entertainer, he walks in. Now, I do have to tell you, I didn't want to tell nobody this, but I talked about this before, but the one that walked inside the mouth was Ice Cube. The other entertainer was Nipsey Hussle. Nipsey Hussle, he said, hey, man, he said, keep doing your thing, boy. He said, they don't make them like you no more. And then he walks inside the mouth. The mouth closes shut. Boom. And then it was gone. But this carnival was still there. I'm sitting inside the garage. Fire is spearing from the table. The Ferris wheel had people on it that were on fire. They were burning beyond belief. They were screaming for dear life. Now, outside was the garage, was looking at the garage door, and it was outside. But as I'm looking outside, there's this light that was peering down in this angle that was in the middle of the street. And as it's peering down, it was purple and gold and blue. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful. And I wanted to get to that light. I knew I had to get to that light. I stood up. As I'm walking out, I'm taking off my clothes. By the time I made it into that peering light that was in the middle of the street, I am stark naked. I stretch my arms out. I start praying. As I begin to start praying, at the end of the prayer, I cannot remember tell you what I said in that prayer, but at the end of that prayer, I fell directly back, no hands, a straight free fall, and my body slaps the ground. Bam! When my body hit the ground, my spirit leaves my body, and I shoot up. All I can see is this light flashing past me. I'm flying up to the sky. When I made it and I stopped, I turned and I looked down like that. And I seen myself in the middle of the street. My head was to the side. My eyes were closed. I was laying down flat on my back in the middle of the street in a crucifix position. When I turned and look up, there was a hand that was covering the entire earth. It was covering the entire sky. I knew at that very moment who that hand was. It was the hand of God. It was covering the entire, I was in the sky, but this hand was I was in the middle. I got some big hands, but I was in the middle of this palm, and that palm was sitting, but it was covering the entire world, man. When they say that, yeah, the earth is his footstool, it is literally his footstool. It got real quiet. It got real still. I hadn't felt this peace that came over me that day. This peace that stood over me, brother, that I felt that day was the greatest peace that I had ever known. I never felt that kind of peace ever in my life. He said, "Not yet, my son." And soon as I heard that voice from God, I went back down into my body. And when I made it back inside my body, I'm cracking up in the middle of the street. I'm laughing beyond belief. I'm filled with so much joy, Vlad. It was incredible. The joy, this overwhelming sense of joy, man, that I had felt the presence and touched the hand of God. I get up and I start putting my clothes on. As I'm putting my clothes on, my people came outside, and he's standing about 10 feet, maybe 5 feet from me. He's at the beginning of the driveway, and I'm in the middle of the street. And he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm going with Jesus." I said, "He right there." I could feel the presence of Jesus Christ, and he was standing to the left of me. I was fired up. I said, "Come on, man." I said, "We gotta go. We gotta stop this now. We gotta stop it." I said, "Let's go with Jesus, man." This demonic voice arose out of him. He said, "Don't say that, brother. Don't say that. Don't say that word." I said, "Look, we gotta go with Jesus. Don't say that word, brother." As he's starting to say that, demons were starting to pull from this way. There were demon heads. They were coming out of his forehead, out of the back, out of his back, all around his body. As I kept saying, "Jesus, we got to go with Jesus. He right there. He waiting for us, man." The demons were swarming around his body. He was like, "Don't say that, Friday." And he ran at me to grab me. And all I could do was pick him up by his neck, and I threw him on top of this car. And when I threw him on top of the car, his eyes was pitch black. I slid him off the top of the car, man. And he ran and he took off. I don't even know where he ran to at that point. And I got in the car and it was over. And there was this peace, man, that came. But do you know the cops, they showed up because there was people coming by, man. I just knew it was God. He sent the police to me that day. This cop showed up. And when he showed up, He put his arm around me on the curb, man. I got my drawers and my shorts on at that point, but I ain't got no shoes and no shirt. He said, my son. He said exactly. He said, my son, it's going to be okay. He said, it's going to be okay. I promise you from this day. He said, it's going to be okay. He said, how can I help you? His voice was so gentle. He was so kind. There was another cop car that pulled up. He told that policeman, he said, I got it. He said, go ahead. He said, we're good here. He was like, you sure? He had his hand on his gun. He was ready. He's hugging me on the curb. He said, don't worry about it. He said, I got it. He sent that other policeman on his way. This policeman, he said, because at this point, I guess whoever called said that there was a man in the street. He was naked. He was screaming out Jesus, and he lost his mind. He stayed with me all the way until the ambulance came. He said, son, he said, do you want to go get some help? I said, I don't know. I said, I don't know if nobody can help me. He said, I know somebody that can help you. He said, he's ready to help you right now. Later it didn't dawn on me because he was talking about Jesus, man. That even though out of everything that I had done, that God, he still had enough grace for me. Out of all the stuff that I had did, all the rejection, and he still had enough for me. Do you know that cop? He followed me all the way. They took me to this place. They call it G Ward here. That's where they take the crazy insane to. He said, you're not under arrest. You're here in your own volition. He said, whenever you're ready to leave, son, you can leave. And he disappeared. I didn't see that man no more after they took me. He just disappeared. Usually you can see the cop. He'll be in his car. He'll get, I don't remember any of that, but I mean, I wasn't under the impression that I was able to comprehend, but that man disappeared. But he made sure that I was taken care of that day. And after that, that was the last time I had an out-of-body experience transferring from the earthly realm to the spiritual realm. And that was it. A few months later, I got saved, bro. And I've been saved ever since, man.
Man, what a detailed encounter. I mean, you had so many different experiences. Do you feel like you've been going to the different levels of hell? Hey, before we get back to the episode, can I ask you for a huge favor? Can you hit that subscribe button or like the video? Any comments, any engagements help me push this video even further so more people can see it. Thank you in advance. And now let's get back to the episode.
Yeah, completely.
You know, it's interesting. Your story kind of reminds me a little bit of my mom. So my mom, she was an atheist, did not believe in God. And my dad was already pursuing God, and he was on the work trips, I think in Poland. And my mom, at the time, I come from a family of 9 children, but at the time, my mom only had 1 child, or 2, can't remember exactly. This was a long time ago. And so every night from 6 a.m. till 12 a.m., these spirits would come out from this alcohol-making machine that a friend of hers asked to drop by at her house for several nights in a row. On the dot from 6 to 12. It was kind of a very similar experience because she was scared of 6 a.m. And
right.
Every night she would wait till the very last minute to go back to her home because she knew what was about to happen. And finally she shared that experience with the mother-in-law who was a believer, and she ran to church. But it's a very kind of experience. You had to experience these different levels of hell. But why do you think that happened to you? Why do you think you had to go through all that?
I had to journey through that, Vlad, so that I could become what God needed me to become, because I was so encased by, I think there was so many things that had happened to me even prior to that, and God was already had it planned that he was going to use me, and by this happening right here, this was going to be so catastrophic to the ministry that was going to be able to be used, man, to be able to help brothers and sisters around the world. And this was the only way that it had to be done. It was no other way, because everybody doesn't get the opportunity. I'll say opportunity. It doesn't happen to everybody. It's happened to a lot of people, but there are so many different realms of how it's happened to others. But me, everything in my life, everything has been drastic. When I was like 8 years old, you know what I mean? I was molested by my cousin. It was drastic. You know, I was hit by a car when riding on handlebars with my good friend when I was little, and I should have died in that accident. It was drastic. You know, I was ran into a brick wall doing 85 miles an hour with no seatbelt on. Drastic. Everything that's happened was in my life been drastic, man. You know.
Well, and that's what I was asking. I was about to ask the drugs, right? So before the hell experience, you
Yes,
started going towards drugs. So it's clearly you were numbing something, right? You were running away from something, escapism.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes,
So
yes.
you were running away
absolutely,
from
brother.
all of that, right?
I was running away from it all, bro, because, you know, I started, you know, I had already, you know, I started smoking marijuana when I was, you know, in high school, which a lot of consider late. I didn't come from a bad home.
Man, I hope everybody enjoyed the video, man. If you have not subscribed to Prophetic Dreamer, come join the family, man. Y'all catch me in the next one. I'm guessing I'm finna just start doing live screen reactions or whatever the thing is. Y'all just catch me in the next one.
To start a podcast with Riverside, all you need is a concept and a way to record it. Here's how it works. First, go to riverside.com